The wedding drums thundered through the air, their rhythm echoing the heartbeat of community gathered in joy. Bright fabric swayed like flames in the wind. Children tossed petals with laughter, and the bride walked forward, radiant in her gown, her smile wide and steady. Every eye admired her grace. Every heart believed this day was perfect. Yet, beneath the music and color, a quiet storm waited. For while she carried hope in her steps, the groom carried a secret in his pocket, one that pressed against him like a shadow he could not shake. His fingers brushed it nervously, unaware that soon her happiness would shatter. She smiled at the aisle, but the truth hidden so close to him would change everything. The bride stood at the edge of the aisle, her heart pounding not with fear, but with hope. All her life she had dreamed of this day, the laughter of her family, the music filling the air, and the promise of love that would carry her into a new beginning. Her gown shimmered as the sun touched it, and her smile spoke of innocence and trust. Across the room stood the groom, a man everyone respected. He was wealthy, generous, and admired for his influence. Yet behind his calm face there lingered something harder to read, an air of mystery that no one dared question. Guests danced and cheered, their joy pouring into the celebration. But beneath the noise was a silence that only the bride could feel, like a whisper in her spirit. Something about this day, about him, seemed too perfect. And sometimes perfection hides the deepest secrets, waiting to be revealed. The music swelled as the bride began her walk down the aisle, her steps slow and graceful, her smile bright enough to light every corner of the hall. Family members leaned forward to catch a glimpse of her, some wiping tears of joy, others clapping and cheering as if this moment belonged to them too. The air was filled with the sound of drums, laughter, and celebration, wrapping the day in beauty and pride. But not every heart in the room was steady. At the altar, the groom shifted nervously, his eyes darting between the crowd and the woman moving closer to him. His hand, almost unconsciously, kept brushing against his pocket, pressing it as though guarding something. Once, twice, 3 times, his fingers lingered there too long. Few noticed, lost in the joy of the moment, but the camera of fate seemed to focus sharply on that pocket, as if it held a truth that could not remain hidden. The bride's smile was radiant, but her gaze soon locked onto his subtle movements, a flicker of unease passing through her heart. The music was loud, the crowd was louder, yet beneath it all, suspense began to rise like a storm no one was ready to face. As the bride drew closer to the altar, her smile began to tremble. At first, it was only a flicker, so small no one else could notice. But then her eyes caught it, a shape pressing out from the groom's pocket. Something unusual, something that did not belong in such a sacred moment. The music continued, the guests clapped, but for her, the world grew quiet. Her gaze narrowed, and the whole around her blurred as her focus locked on that pocket. It was no ordinary fold of cloth. A strange object peeked from within, glinting faintly in the light, like a charm or a folded paper holding secrets she was never meant to see. Her heartbeat quickened, thudding in her chest like a warning drum. Fear wrapped around her, stealing the joy from her steps, pulling at her courage. Every inch closer to him felt heavier, darker, as if she was walking towards something she could not escape. The groom's hand brushed the pocket again, nervous, almost protective, and in that instant her spirit recoiled. The hall was still alive with cheers, but inside her, silence screamed. Something was wrong, terribly wrong, and though she did not yet understand, she knew her world was about to shatter. The bouquet slipped from her trembling hands and fell to the floor with a soft thud that seemed louder than the drums. Her gasp cut through the air, sharp and sudden, freezing the moment. Then, without a word, she turned, lifted her gown, and bolted down the aisle. Gasps rose from the crowd, followed by screams, whispers, and the restless shuffle of feet as confusion spread like fire. Mothers covered their mouths, elders shook their heads in disbelief, and children clung to their parents, sensing the fear. The groom stood rooted to the spot, his face drained of color, his hand still hovering protectively over that cursed pocket. Guests stared at him with wide, questioning eyes, but he could not move, could not explain. The bride's parents looked on in horror, their pride turning to embarrassment under the weight of 1,000 judging glances. But in her heart, as she ran through the heavy doors into the open air, she felt something different. Yes, fear gripped her like a cold hand, and betrayal stung her like a knife, But beneath it all was courage, the courage to leave rather than walk into a trap of secrets. Each step away was not weakness, but freedom. Whispers spread faster than the drums had faded, racing from the wedding hall into every corner of the community. Some blamed the bride, saying she had brought shame to her family. Others pointed to the groom, questioning what dark secret he carried that could drive a woman to flee on her wedding day. In hushed voices, people asked, what was he hiding? His once bright reputation began to crumble, shadows growing heavier around his name. Meanwhile, the bride sat quietly in her room, safe but trembling, her heart torn between fear and relief. Tears stained her cheeks, yet a strange strength held her upright. Later that night, with only her closest confidant by her side, she revealed the truth. What she saw in his pocket was no harmless thing, but a sign of betrayal, a proof of deception that confirmed her deepest doubts. The secret was real, and her escape had saved her. She stood by the window, her wedding dress no longer a symbol of shame but of strength. The storm inside her heart had calmed, leaving behind a quiet courage she never knew she carried. What many called disgrace, she now saw as freedom. She had escaped a trap built on lies, and in that escape, she discovered her own worth. True love, she realized, cannot grow where secrets hide. Sometimes, walking away is not weakness, it is the bravest step one can take. As the scene faded, the drums of celebration turned into a softer beat of hope, carrying her into a new beginning.